This story will be about the tree, but it's not a usual tree as you could think. This story will be about the very old, maybe one of the most ancient trees in Israel, and the name of this tree is sycamore. Let's see what we know about sycamores. This name is known from the ancient times. For example, in the Bible, this word means many times in a different context. The name sycamore from the ancient times is surrounded by mysteries. In many cultures and religions, there are too many mentions about this tree. Sycamore are very big trees. They have big crowns which make a shadow in the sunny days. Sometimes sycamore is called donkey fig. That's because of its fruit, small sweet berries. Birds, bats, donkeys and camels like them, but for the men they are not tasty enough. The sycamore that grows in Netanya is the one of the biggest and most old trees in Israel. The trunk of sycamore in Netanya is about 8 meters around. During the life of a tree, it broke, cracked and grew again. Now it looks a bit strange. When you look at the tree from some angles, it looks like a wooden octopus or like a decoration from the scary movie. But, in despite of its age and appearance, the tree still fruits. The ground around the tree is full of fallen berries. As many researchers say, the age of sycamore in Netanya is from 600 till 1500 years. Why the gap is so big? The real age of the tree will be known only after sowing it. So how research counted up its age? The answer is very simple. This tree is well known from the Middle Ages. The mention about it is found in the chronicles of 14th-15th centuries. So the age of the tree could not be less than 600 years. But the situation with the highest limit of this age is much more complicated, but is much more interesting. If you look around the sycamore, you will see that there are no trees older than 50 years. Why is it so? Why does the tree live longer its neighbors? This is the most interesting part of our story, where we will tell you about the unique legend of this ancient tree. For the understanding how deep this legend is, we must return to the 7th century. In those times, the center of civilization had moved to the Near East. Here was a great confrontation between two superempires, Byzantium and Arab Caliphate. Caliphate, which was a very young state, appeared in the beginning of the 7th century on the Arabian Peninsula. During 30 years after appearing, it became the greatest state of a region. At the start of his history, Caliphate had no power enemies. All its neighbors were little Arabian tribes that could not make a union against growing Islamic Caliphate. That's why Muhammad, the leader and founder of the new state, had no problem with the conquest at the beginning. But soon, after Muhammad's death, new rulers of Caliphate decided to attack not only Arabian territories, but other states around the Arabian Peninsula too. There was only one problem. Almost all of the states were under the vassalage from Byzantine Empire and from Iran of Sassanid, or Persian Empire. These two empires were the greatest from the ancient times, and Byzantium was the center of early medieval civilization. It was the cultural, financial and religious capital of the whole world in those times. Of course, both sides of this potential conflict knew that the Great War was just a question of time, and soon this war began. The territory of Israel was exactly in the center of this war between Arabs and Greeks. Holy Land saw armies of both sides, marching through it from north to south and back. It continued until appearance of a man whose name was Khalid ibn al-Walid. Surely this man was on the Arabian side. In the world history, Khalid is known as the greatest general and conqueror who never conceded. Really, during his life he never lost none of his 43 battles. His courage, intellect, composure and fantastical brutality were his weapon against all enemies. He was a personal friend of Muhammad before he died, and exactly Prophet gave him an alias, Sayfullah al-Malsul, that means drawn sword of God. As historical book tells us, Al-Walid was a general who never admitted to defend in war. His doctrine was attack, attack and attack once again. The most of his victories Al-Walid won before the battle. Armies of enemies became absolutely demoralized when the flags of Sayfullah rose above the Arabian orders. Armies of Byzantium, Persians left battlefield in the heart of the battle and ran away. And this man appeared here in the Holy Land from the south on his way to Syria. The most unusual fact in the biography of Al-Walid is he was accompanied overnight by his mother in any conquest. This man, who was a nightmare for the many armies and generals, was a very good son who adored his mother. His mother was a very old, brave woman who believed in her son and remained in the command center of al-Walid's army even during the battle. It was very risky, especially in the Middle Ages. If al-Walid had lost his battle, the price of it would be too high. He would lose not only his honor, but his mother too. That's why his rage in the battle was without borders. He protected not only his command center, but the biggest treasure in his life. As the legend says, once when al-Walid's army was in the region of present Netanya, his mother was very tired, and she asked her son to stop the march for the rest. She laid in the shadow of a big tree and fell asleep, but this dream was her last. She died. Her grateful al-Walid buried her under the tree with great honors and forbade to touch the tree ever. This tree was the Old Sycamore in Netanya. This legend walked through the centuries. It was so survivable that Turks who came here in the 14th century built a village and called it Umm-Khaled, what means mother of Khalid. It's really unusual because, as a rule, all new villages in all times people prefer to call in the honor of leaders or national heroes. Just imagine that the story about great general and his mother was still actually after 700 years. The fear, awe and respect for the name of al-Walid lived over 1,500 years. The tree upon the grave of his mother was not cut down neither by Arabs nor Crusaders who built a castle not far from a sycamore, nor Turks who built Khaled, no Napoleon's army who was here in the 19th century, no British who cut down all forest around to build a railway. So need the woods. But nobody touched the ancient tree standing upon the grave of al-Walid's mother. Certainly, now Sycamore stands on the place not because of the scare of al-Khalid's name. Today it's a monument, a witness of the ancient story of the region. In its shadow, millions of people had a rest. The most famous of them was the great French Emperor Napoleon, who was here twice. For the first time, he rested here after the great victory near Jaffa. He laid under the tree in a perfect mood and thought that his conquest of Near East would be easy. After his defeat in the battle near Acre, when he lost all his army, he was here for the second time. He was so angry and disappointed that he ordered to destroy village Khaled. Sitting under the tree, he watched how village was burning. For these days and events, Old Sycamore stands on the place in a silence. It is watching for us as it did for wayfarers more than 1,000 years ago. It saw caravans from Egypt to Syria and back. It saw Arabs and Byzantine armies, Crusaders, Mamluks, Turks, French, British, Palestinian and Jews. Many things were changed. Dusty Road became a new highway. Little village became a part of a city. The railway was built. In the shadow of the tree not so many people have a rest now. They find comfort in the new buildings with the conditioners. But the tree is still watching for us, like the old man who knows that everything is a vanity. Not far from Sycamore, there is a picture of the end of 19th century, which shows us the tree, a Bedouin upon a donkey, and the mysterious ruins on the background. But what are these ruins? Maybe these ruins of village Khaled after Napoleon's army? No. Books told us that the village was restored immediately after his army left that region. So what is on the picture? We do know this, but this is another story.